Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host Elion, and we are here with Jimmy Millard. So welcome, Jimmy.
Thanks, Elliot. Thanks, brother. Glad to be here.
Yes, cool, cool. So, Jimmy, could you introduce yourself and what you do within the bands that you play?
Sure. Well, I go by the Pink Bass Man. I have to show you why. Besides the thing on my face, we have these lovely things that look like this, all
Cool,
nice and
cool.
pink. Yeah. So I play bass for a variety of different bands. Um, I do recordings. I do all kinds of fun such. So some of the bands right now, I'm playing in a metal band called Applehead that is going to be touring very soon. We've done some things around here, and that'll more about that. Um, in the past, I played with the band Slaughter. I did a tour. I stepped in to assist on a tour in 2019. I played on Mark Slaughter's 2017 solo record called Halfway There, and did some tour dates with that as well. Because of where I live in Tennessee, Nashville, I also play country. So I look very much like a country guy, of course. So, I'm going to sit here and do this little thing and do country. But I usually do the more rock and stuff. The old school straight ahead stuff doesn't really grab me. I can do it, but I don't usually get asked for that. So those are
Cool.
the two hitters. And then on top of that, occasionally still, I play off and on with a Native American band, and I am the token guy who's not Native. So
Cool,
that band's called
cool,
Broken Walls. So yes.
yeah, cool. Yeah, so let's dive into some questions.
Hmm.
Um, as a kid, what were you listening to? Yeah.
That's funny. That one's funny. The earliest song that I remember hearing was Linda Ronstadt's "Hurt So Bad." That was in the early '70s, and then it kind of went on, and then it was Black Sabbath. How's that for a switch?
Oh yeah, yeah. Linda Ronstadt's pretty cool anyway. So yeah, I can understand why you'd say listen to Linda Ronstadt.
Yep, yep. There was a whole bunch of other things, but I mean, I don't remember little tidbits of things. When I was young, it was "Silly Love Songs" by Wings that snuck in there before Black Sabbath did.
Yeah,
So just odds and ends, odds and sods. You know the story.
yeah, yeah. So who actually got you into sort of like music? To actually listening to music, was it sort of like your parents or your a sibling, or was it a journey through like a journey of self discovery?
So when I was very young, my mother actually played accordion. So she would sit around the house and do this kind of thing and do her thing with that. Before I was born, she had a quartet. So it was her and my dad playing upright bass, and then she had a drummer and a guy playing tenor saxophone. And I guess
Oh,
it
cool.
kind of, when she was expecting me, she was out there. So here's the accordion on top of the basketball that you now see. And I guess it just kind of went, it started there. And then they wanted to get me into playing music because my mother felt it was something important. So in the local school, they put me into a music program, and I started playing saxophone. And that started when I was about 8. And I did that until I was 14 or 15. In the meantime, the big upright bass had been lounging in the living room in the corner. So I would just mess with it occasionally, and it just kind of went from there. I would mess around with it, and then another twist in the music side. Part of my heritage is Croatian, so my mother decided she wanted me to play the Croatian instruments. So I began to learn how to play the little, strumming instruments and such. They're called tamburitsins. And the band leader said, "Well, we need a bass guy." So the big bass came out of the living room corner and took the stage with me, and I had to learn how to play it properly. So I could already read music from the saxophone, and so I just learned how to read bass clef. And this is where the Black Sabbath comes in, because I was in. Uh, if we're here, it'd be seventh, eighth grade, going into secondary school, high school, And there was a couple of people who would hand me things to listen to. So he handed me Rush and Kiss and Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, Deep Purple, kind of all the traditional, what you'd expect if you're going to go, you know. So it kind of went that way. And then I realized that playing like this, I couldn't play Geezer Butler like this and make it sound right. So I went to a local shop and I rented an electric bass, which was basically a Fender Precision P-bass copy. And it just kind of took off from there. And I actually didn't take lessons in bass until college, until university. So it's been my whole life so far.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you spoke about your parents being like a major influence on getting you into playing music. Was there any other musician that inspired you to become a musician, to actually expand from playing the saxophone and the double bass, and transitioning over to actually playing the electric bass?
Well, the Black Sabbath connection was large. So Geezer Butler was on the top of the heap. What I did was I actually started purchasing records, these kind of things. And I ended up just kind of exploring because I had no idea. So I went looking through the record shops in those days, and I could spend 100 and come out with 100 albums. And so that's exactly what I did. Anything that had a cover that looked cool, I would grab. And so I had everything from Uriah Heep to Yes to Y&T, you name it, Thin Lizzy. I probably had a tidbit of everything. So everything kind of shaped what I do now. The main ones that I focused on, though, were Chris Squire, Geddy Lee, Geezer, John Entwistle, even from The Who, because his stuff was fun. And just kind of took it from there.
Cool. Yeah, cool. So you mentioned some bands that you played with before. Was there any other bands that you were in before you sort of like said, right, these are the bands that I'm going to be playing in?
I've played in lots of bands over the years. Some of them I don't even remember names of, because you do this so much. And then, of course, recording with people. There's songs out there that people send me years later and they're like, you played on this. And I'm like, I did. And then I have to go back and listen to it and go, oh, yeah, there's that. I did that. Okay. So, yeah, I run the gamut, literally. I do it all because that's what we do here to be a musician and do it as much full time as you can. You have to wear all the hats.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
So, over sort of like the last year, 2 years, what have you been up to?
Well, the primary one has been the Applehead Band, and I have this here because this is one of the last Applehead records. The label that we're on sold out, and a friend of mine said he was waiting for one, so I said, well, I just happen to have one for you. But this record came out in 23, and I was recording on it for most of 23. Released in September. Along with that, the country guy, his name is Ryan Weaver, and I would go out a bunch with him. We pretty much go out across the states, and he goes across the world. So, you may see him out and about with his big cowboy hat on and his big belt buckle, Other than that, like I said, I do a lot of session work. So there are people who have had me on songs that I know, and there are people that just call and say, I need you to do something for me, and they send me tracks. I don't know who the artist is. And so sometimes I played on things I don't even realize, and then they pop up later, like I said, and they could go anywhere, really. I've got tracks in Scotland. There's a friend of mine in Scotland who has a band called Extreme Danger. I did a song for him to remember his daughter who passed away in the COVID stuff. Just odds and ends like that. I mean, I pick up a lot of things as I go.
Cool. So, with the band Applehead, is there any sort of like more coming from that band?
So we have, this record is called The Light Side of the Apple. We actually have half of another one already done. And we put a single out back in April. It's a cover, ironically, of the band Berlin. The song was No More Words. You know, nice and synth poppy, but we made it a rock song. And it's Greg. Greg is the singer of Applehead. It was one of his personal favorites, so we recorded it, and then we did the licensing and such, so we can play it everywhere and do all that. But there's another probably 6 songs that are finished, and there's, I think, 3 or 4 more that we're finishing writing before we release the next record.
Cool.
And in the meantime, we're touring. We're going to do some live dates. There's like I was telling you kind of beforehand, there's a guy who is looking to book us across everywhere, and we're going to be with a band called Lost Circus, and they're an adventure waiting to happen. They're pretty good and heavy as well.
Cool. So could you tell us a little bit about the album that you're working on at the minute? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We've tried to run a little bit of an adventure this time. The Light Side of the Apple is a lot of heavy kind of chugging metal songs, which is great. And there's a 13-minute song on there that runs from hard rock metal to Ted Nugent to Queen in the midst of it. And the new one is going to be a little different expression. It's all going to be pretty hardcore as far as the heavy stuff goes. But we're going to surprise a few people this time because we've snuck in some jazz, snuck in some acoustic guitar, which Greg swore he wouldn't play unless he absolutely had to, under threats of, So we're doing a little bit of adventure because as an artist, as a musician, you always want to go further and grow instead of staying in the same spot all the time. And some people get that and some don't.
Cool. Is there sort of like any plans for like a release date? Would it be sometime next year?
I'm thinking it will probably be sometime next year. We really haven't had the whole time we haven't been able to really tour this one. So before we put out another one, we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to spend some time with us and let us play it for them. So we want to do that first, and the new one will probably come out in 25, I'd say.
Cool. So I normally ask this question because of that. Are you sort of like continually writing new material, or is it just like focusing on the ones that you've already written for the new album?
We usually will just an idea will strike, and one of us will write it down, and then if we feel like it's good enough, we'll share it with the other person and then see if we want to do anything with it. So there's always something moving, because it could be something for an Applehead record, it could be something for a solo record, it could be something for someone else to record if they want to pick your song up. They can license a song and record it themselves. So there's always something in motion. There's always a pen or pencil or a keyboard in motion to write words and kind of come up with melodies for such.
Cool. You mentioned that you're sort of like planning on doing a tour. Is that just for the US and Canada?
Actually, I would love to come back across the pond. And I think it would be a whole lot more fun. I've noticed the metal crowd in the US is not as big as it once was. And the metal crowd everywhere else is quite large. And I would rather go, I think, if I was going to play some dates, I'll gladly do some here. But given the opportunity to come across, I'd have a lot of fun in all kinds of places, just because I've been parts of in times past, for festival dates and for playing in the pub and playing in the club and all that kind of thing. So I'm all about coming across.
Yeah, cool. So somebody, one of my mods, Bastian, that showed the Applehead vinyl, says nice vinyl. Is there going? Wait, he's going to kill me if I don't. If he doesn't. If I don't ask this. With the new album that you're working on now, is there any plans on doing any sort of like putting their own vinyl?
Vinyl is my favorite way to listen to a song. And if we have, so the way that the label worked out this one, they limited run these because they can get them quickly. And so we got a bunch of these, and the label actually sold out. So the ones that we have left are the only ones of this record right now that are accessible. I am hoping and planning on the new record going back to vinyl as well, because there's no reason not to. You know what I mean? I would rather. Yeah. I have a whole wall of albums over here. You can't see it because it's slightly off camera, but I have a whole stash of them here because that's the way I prefer them. And you know, if I want to sit down, for tea, let's have a record playing. Yeah. So to answer the question, yes, I plan to have it on vinyl, and I hope to, yes.
Cool. Even my head mod, Lisa Pooh, says 100% love vinyl.
Absolutely.
So,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see. Yep. Well, that's where it's at. That's where it's at. I mean, you can play CDs, and I've got those too, for all kinds of things. But give me the option. Just let me have a record player and a pair of good-sized speakers, and let's go.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people say I like that as well. Wanting to especially with the younger generations now, with who are finally discovering vinyl. That the vinyl is a lot more. There's a lot more to it than playing like the digital MP3s or listening to the CD.
Right. I've noticed in the younger set, they want to have something in their hands, and they want to be able to look at it, and they want to be able to touch it and feel it and read all the stuff that's on, just like we did when we were young. And you know, it's something, in a way, it's kind of special, because you can do it with a CD, but it's not the same. It's just not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Plus the sound alone from the vinyl is a lot more richer, look much more warmer.
Agreed. One funny thing, I was actually playing one of these records yesterday, and my oldest son is 27, and he's a musician. And he came out here and he was listening. He goes, "I can actually hear all your bass notes." Yes, that's why we listen to records, because you can hear everything just so. You can't do that with CD. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, to me, a CD, or if I'm listening to an MP3, MP3 versions, it's too clinical.
Agreed.
Clinical. It's too. But with vinyl, you can hear everything. Especially if you've got, like you said, a decent record player and a decent sound system.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no question. Yeah. I'll take vinyl every time.
Oh yeah, me too. I've got at the minute on my record deck, I've got Halloween 7 Keys album.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's a hell of a lot better than listening to the CD version.
Definitely, bro. You feel the bass too a little more. So when we were putting this record together, the label guy told us that they were going to be doing vinyl, and one of the things that I've living here as I am, vinyl is mixed differently. The labels and the engineers and the mix and master guys, they do it differently for vinyl because it jumps out differently. To your point, the low end is in there, and you can feel the pound of the low end. You can't necessarily get that much with a CD, or an MP3 is even smaller. So it's a different process for putting the music on a piece of vinyl as opposed to a CD. And like I said, I prefer it.
Yes, same here. I've got not a huge vinyl collection, but I've got a collection where I can actually sit down and say, yeah, vinyl's a hell of a lot better than the MP3 and the CD.
Totally.
Yeah.
You'll never hear me disagree.
So, so is there any sort of like, other than the final, is there any other sort of like merchandise type of stuff that you've got for the for Applehead?
There is a guy who has a company that handles all of our T-shirts. He's got mugs. He's got, you name it, he probably has it. It's, I think if I remember right, it's anchormerchandising.com, and he handles all of the online orders. And then when we play a live show, we have things with us. So when we do play a live show, we have CDs and records, and then we have T-shirts, stickers, and stuff. So, you know, kind of things like this.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, we actually have a name for this guy. So cool. What's funny is, I'll just show you this again, just this guy right here.
Cool.
So
cool.
we named him. I looked at him and I said, his name's Henry. So that's Henry. He's the Applehead.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. Well, we have all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've seen people wearing shirts. I've seen people wearing scarves, holding up banners and posters. And I just had some patches made for the battle vests. So for those who gird up and ready to go, I have square Applehead patches that are the record cover that are coming.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So that's so if anybody wants to order online for the merchandise, it's anchormerchandising.com. Yeah.
Anchormerchandising.com, and then just search Applehead and it'll all be right there.
Cool, cool, cool. So where can people find you on social media?
There's a lot of places. On the Applehead side, there is on Facebook, of course, there's official Applehead. There is an Instagram page, again, official Applehead. And then, of course, I have base pages and my personal stuff, and Greg has his thing as well. We're pretty much covered. And then, of course, if you haven't heard the music yet, it's on all of the streaming services, literally every one from YouTube out. So one of the companies that we work with has placed the entire record on all of the streaming services. So it shouldn't be too tough to find if you want to hear it.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Lisa Boo says Henry is awesome. She likes
Lisa.
Henry.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, one of the things we try to do is when we, what happens if someone gets something specifically from us, we send Henry stickers along with. So if for some reason if you get something specifically from me or Greg as opposed to Anchor, we try to include a Henry for you. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So now, yeah. Sebastian has asked, do you sell your merch at gigs?
Yes, we do.
Cool.
We'll have the records until they run out. We'll have CDs and shirts, stickers. We're working on some new things. Like I said, the patches are brand new. I actually will pick those up on Monday. So across social media, I will be showing those off because a lot of people actually initially had asked us for those. And I had a guy make some for me just to see. I'm doing kind of a test to see how they look and are they the right quality, because I want them to be right. So, yes, to answer the question, yes, we should have a lot of stuff with us when we travel.
Cool. Yeah. So, if anybody's got any more questions, please do, because we're going to be starting to wrap things up in the next couple of minutes. So my last question is, any advice for people who want to become a musician?
Yes. If you feel like you want to do it, do not hold yourself back. Try it. It can't hurt. If you like it, you'll keep doing it. If you don't like it, you'll keep doing it. It's just the way it goes, because it's not something that happens overnight. It takes some discipline and some effort and some practice, of course, to be able to use a word, hone a craft. It's a skill set playing music, so practice is key. And even if that means, if you have a busy life and you've got a lot going on, find some time. Listen to your favorite bands, pick your instrument of choice that you like, and work along with your favorite bands and teach your ear to hear the instrument that you play or you want to play, and then translate that to your fingers.
Cool. Sound advice. Any final words before we start wrapping things up?
Honestly, I'm really honored that you would ask me to come on and visit with you. I really appreciate the time with you, and for those of your friends and fam and everybody over there who's listening, cheers and thank you for jumping in and asking questions and stuff. I greatly appreciate it.
Pleasure. So, guys, if you haven't checked out Applehead, please do. Applehead is absolutely amazing, so go check them out. And I've put the links to Applehead's Facebook and Instagram pages in the description. So, yeah, so go check them out. So, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on and doing this little interview. It's been an absolute blast.
Absolutely. Cheers, Zell. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So, until next time, guys, we'll catch you all later.